It looks good though. It's exciting.
This is these mics are not connected to the new speakers,
Okay.
but they are still connected. I don't know.
So you want us to speak up for the people in the room,
Yeah.
so the people on the video will get blasted.
Yeah, the people in the video have the mics. It's the, yeah.
Y'all ready?
Yeah.
Good. Call the meeting to order. Good evening. You'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you remain standing for just a moment of silence, please. Thank you. You see, I just have one announcement. This announcement is primarily for all the renters in Black Mountain. Unfortunately, we've gone ahead and everyone that owned property and went ahead and had businesses were billed in the past 2 years $240 for commercial, $72 a year for stormwater. That's now been changed to where it ends up on your water bill. That's $6 a month and $20 a month if you're commercial. Unfortunately, what's happened here is that a lot of the landlords that have gone ahead and paid the water, the town doesn't have the addresses of those folks who are renting from them. So they're being charged this stormwater. And basically, we're probably talking in the neighborhood of a couple hundred to 300 people. So I just want to apologize to the people because this was not your issue. This was a town's issue, and we're going to work towards getting it taken care of. I'm going to meet with Josh tomorrow, and I've got some ideas on how to go ahead and get up with the individual renters, probably going to the landlords and then getting their addresses so that we can then contact them. Of course, if they want to, they can come to the town and request they be removed because of the landlord paying the stormwater tax. All right, Josh, proclamations, please.
The ethics statement is next.
Ethics, right, you're correct. Thank you, Pam. In accordance with the Code of Ethics adopted by the council, all council members have a duty to conduct the affairs of the governing board in an open and public manner, free of conflicts of interest. Is there any item on the agenda, the outcome of which would have a direct, substantial, readily identifiable financial impact for any council member, his or her family, or close business associates?
No.
No.
Does any council member have a financial interest in any public contract coming before this council today?
No.
There being none, all board members have a duty and obligation to vote. Now we'll go to the proclamations.
So we'll welcome Chief Steve Parker. He's going to do some recognition of some citizens. Chief Parker.
All right, so we're going to struggle for space here, so I'm going to do my best. Come on, Peters. If I could call Betty Jean up here. And Betty Jean, if you wouldn't mind standing right here. And Peters, if you would come over here. Then I have John Carr. John, come on up here. And then Joseph Winks. Did I say that right, Joseph?
It's Onks, but it's okay.
Onks, you know. What? The spelling got me. So, unfortunately, I did want to make sure as I'm doing this presentation, one of the main heroes in this broke down at the North Carolina-South Carolina line as he was on his way here. But I'm going to make sure that I represent him on another day because it's well deserved. So what I'm going to do is just tell a little bit to council and the citizens here and the families. I know a lot of families are here. On June 1st, around 1 p.m., officers received a wanted hit from our flock license plate reader that a subject was traveling in the town of Black Mountain. Officer McPeters quickly located the vehicle and went to pull the suspect over. The suspect, who was wanted on at least 5 bank robberies and possibly 10 convenience store robberies, which they're still doing the investigation, then began to flee at high speeds away from Officer McPeters. Officer McPeters, with the information that he had, felt that the severity of the charges and what was going on, and a lot of information was unknown to us at the time, but that him fleeing apprehension was more dangerous to the public than him being apprehended. So we at that time decided to continue in a pursuit based off of other information that was coming in at the same time. Officer McPeters, thank God he is here today. I went through 2 sleepless nights after I watched his video of his pursuit, but he did an amazing job in his pursuit. It was a very, very high-speed, dangerous pursuit. The suspect continued from 70, went on to 40, and then as he got to 26, the suspect then went the wrong way down the interstate, which is in construction. At that time, Officer McPeters felt that the danger to the public changed, and he needed to no longer pursue that suspect because he was now worried about the motoring public as well. At that time, Officer McPeters disengaged and then received a call on the radio about 2 minutes, I guess, as he was hitting his steering wheel going, darn it. And he was still sitting on the interstate, actually, and he was just getting ready to come back to Black Mountain. And then we received a call from Buncombe County Dispatch that said that the suspect had been involved in a collision and was actively carjacking Miss Young, who is amazing in herself. And we had a great conversation. I said elderly in the newspaper, and she corrected me. I was just thinking of my age. But Miss Young, he tried to grab Miss Young and pull her out of the vehicle. He slammed her head into the steering wheel several times. I know she thought her arm was broken. I don't think that it ended up broken, thankfully, but she is having a lot of things that she's having to deal with through this. But through that, Mr. Huff saw that she was needing help, and Mr. Huff is not here. And Mr. Huff was with his wife and his kids, I believe, and he said, I need to go help this person. I need to go help. And he jumped out of the car, didn't know what he was getting into, and immediately started pulling him off of her. He is a true hero. A true hero. And through that, Joseph Onks. See, don't say it once. Onks. And John Carr assisted in making sure that the suspect was subdued until Officer McPeters and an Asheville police officer were able to get there very quickly after they were able to subdue the suspect. So through that, there is no question in my mind that the suspect was willing to die to get away. No question in my mind. He had been in one other high-speed pursuit in another jurisdiction, and he was willing to kill somebody in a robbery to get what he wanted. And for this reason, we're awarding Miss Jean the Special Courage Award for what she did and how she acted. She told me she was throwing elbows to his throat.
And I got it with my ring.
I was,
As Cameron said, I fought like a polecat.
yeah. I think I called her on a Saturday or Sunday. I can't remember. I can't remember. I called her when I was at home and kept losing connection, but I could have talked to her forever. She's an amazing woman. We're proud that you're okay and proud that you ended up, and congratulations and thank you for being here.
I got my bachelor's degree in law enforcement 50 years ago. I'm an identical twin, and her spouse and her son and son-in-law have all been in law enforcement. I used to administer lie detector test polygraph examiner for the state of Texas, and then went into private community work. Anyway, long story short, when he started attacking me, and it was, and I want to say this to all ladies, you don't ever imagine you're sitting in traffic, you see someone running down the highway, and they're gushing blood and said, you know, my partner's hurt, I'm hurt. I put my window down just a little bit, because, you know, they always say, never put your window all the way down. Well, while I was getting my phone, he reached in to get my phone, and got my car unlocked, and leaped through the window. I mean, and I told him to get the out of my car, in uncertain terms. But there was a guy, Jason Hansen, who's ex-CIA in Utah. And I watched a video on him, a podcast, 2 years before. And he said, if anybody ever gets in the car, fight like hell, because you may not make it down the highway. So I fought like hell. So I say this to all ladies, use whatever weapons you have at hand. My elbow and my ring served me well. So, thank you.
And her elbow was all bloodied up, I can tell you.
I got drugged by the car.
So, and then next, the Medal of Valor. And I want to say real quick the definition of a Medal of Valor. I've never seen this given, nor been part of this given. It's a rare, rare thing. But a Medal of Valor is awarded to citizens who have exhibited exceptional courage, regardless of their personal safety, in an attempt to save or protect others from harm. I think this is just a definition amazing in itself. And from my understanding, you're both military veterans.
Yes, sir.
And so was Trevor. And I have to say, very thankful you were there this day. I think things would have turned out differently if you all weren't. And so for that, you are both being awarded the Medal of Valor. Now, last say I'm finishing up, because this is long-winded. But Officer McPeters, he's just trying to go for the MVP. About 3 weeks ago, we had somebody in a stolen car with guns that came up for McDowell County. And Officer McPeters was there with his stop sticks, stopped the car, and was able to felony car stop and capture that person as well. So great job to Officer McPeters as well.
Very well done.
All the families I know are stacked in here, so if you want to go ahead and exit, we'll get you.
Thank you. This lower. We'll wait.
All right, next we'll bring up Josh Henderson, Parks and Recreation Director, and recognize Babe Ruth AU All-Star Team.
All right, so I'll ask the AU All-Stars to come up. While they're coming up, I'll give you a little bit of background. In June of this month, our Charles D. Ellen Babe Ruth Association, they bid on and won and hosted the Cal Ripken, the Western North Carolina State Championship Tournament. So we had 8U and we had 11U that both participated in that tournament. And these individuals, they were the runner-up in their age group, and it was a huge success for our town to go to host this tournament. And we just want to congratulate them and let them know how proud we are of their efforts.
Congratulations, guys.
Thank you.
Council. We appreciate everything that you guys have done for us at the ballparks and everything. And hopefully we can continue to work together. There's about 10 other little kids that couldn't make it tonight, still on vacation, getting ready to go back to school. But again, we appreciate everything you guys do for us. Those guys are the real champions right there. Congratulations, guys. Very good.
And then lastly, we'll recognize Black Mountain Stingray Swim Team.
while they're coming in, I'll kind of tell you a little bit about the swim team. So Beth Dalton Rathbone is our swim team coach and pool manager, and she kind of revived our swim team about 9 years ago, and they've been competing for the last 9 years. We had 158 swimmers this season, and they won their second back-to-back conference championship. So we want to recognize them tonight as well.
Very small numbers. We've worked really hard, just so you guys know, we're a tiny town compared to some of the towns that we compete with. And we are the biggest in our league, and that's against Granite Falls, which is probably 3 to 4 times as big as us, you know. Forest City, we have Valdez, all of these much bigger places, but we are the biggest team. Bigger than McDowell. McDowell encompasses the whole entire county. And they're now, Shelby is now in our league, as well as Lenore, and out of all 7 teams, yeah, these guys have, they work their hind ends off. Some of them, they're practicing 2 times a day, 4 days a week, and not because we make them, because they choose to. And this will be the next generation coming up and running the pool. So I'm excited. maybe I can retire. So that's inevitably the goal, is to create the revolving door, and everybody needs to know how to swim, because you're around water for the rest of your life. So that it is.
Very well.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Good job.
Good job. Nice job.
She'll be the mayor one day.
All right, before we get into citizen comment, I've got one more recognition. And this has to do with the gentleman who is down at the Veterans Home, a gentleman named Joe Cooper, World War II Korean vet. He's a Brevard resident. He served in World War II from 1941 to December 28, 1945. Then he joined the U.S. Army, serving in Europe during the Berlin airlift, and then back to the Pacific to serve in the Korean War. Archie Patiller will be going ahead and attending the service and speaking at the Veterans Home on August the 25th at 10 a.m. So hope that you could go. All right. Next is citizen comment. Mary Standard.
Am I to sit here?
Yes, right there. Good.
Mary Standard, and I'm glad to be with you tonight.
Your address?
I tell people my house is in Montreat, but my home is in the valley.
Very good.
And I mean that truly. My home is in the valley. And I'm here tonight to invite you all to attend a very special occasion, a bit of history, a bit of invitation. And I do this also with the permission of Mary Othello Burnett, who was born here in Black Mountain in the 1930s. She and I made an application for a North Carolina historical marker for the Allen School. And I'm here to invite both you as members of the Black Mountain Council and the members of the public to attend this unveiling of the marker. Basically, mark your calendar for 2 p.m. Saturday, October 21st. And the place is going to be at 205 College Street in Asheville, in front of the Register of Deeds office, so a prime location to recognize. And there'll be a reception to follow from 2 to 4:30 p.m. at the site of the Allen School, which is now occupied by Explore Asheville, or the Tourist Development Authority. So I hope you'll come. And I think that one of your council members is related to Ms. Burnett, Mr. Patillo. And I would also ask the public and people here in Black Mountain to inform people who are friends, relatives, or alumni of the Allen School. And so I would seek that help from you. In the time that I have left, I'd like to tell you a bit about the Allen School. And many of the women in Black Mountain who were not able to go on to school elsewhere chose to go to the Allen School. It was black, female, and college prep. Founded in 1887 by Quakers, Methodists, blacks, and whites. Its mission was to educate Asheville's black community. The first class opened with 3 generations enrolled in its elementary school curriculum. By 1897, its mission was to provide a boarding and a day school for black females. Located just east of Charlotte Street at the foot of Bowcatcher Mountain, the Allen School, now the site of Explore Asheville, is little recognized, despite its historic role in educating young black females during the early part of the 20th century, a time of it was an educational desert for both women and for blacks. Accredited in 1924, the integrated staff, very key, integrated staff, emphasized demanding college preparatory course classes. It closed in 1974 as segregation was fading, with more than 1,100 black females passing through its doors. Mary Othello Burnett was one of those, as was Nina Simone. Hope to see you there. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mayor. Thank you. Next, Evie Googe.
On the way up, my mother accompanied the choir and solos at the Allen School.
Then we'll see you there at the marker.
My name's E.B. Googe, 131 Fairway Drive, Black Mountain. I'm here to first thank you for putting on the budget repair expenses for the Gray Eagle Monument. And I'm also here to build a fire under you. Back in the spring, as you well know, due to vandalism and a little bit of neglect, we found, and it still is, in pretty bad repair. Well, I contacted the guy who built it, Raymond Presley. He said, well, he could bring it back up to par for $2,000. And I talked to Pam King. She said, that sounds very reasonable. And so I got her support and Alice's support and Doug's support, can't find it, Doug, to move forward with this. And then Josh told me, he said, well, I've hired the Milton Brothers. But the Milton Brothers haven't showed yet. So I'm just here to, I don't know if you went down to the festival this past weekend or not, but I don't mind telling you, I hung my head in shame walking down Sutton Street knowing I was a big part of a fine historical monument recognizing the first name of this town. Thousands of people walking by, and I don't have to tell you, if you don't know the condition, I urge each and every one of you to go by and look at it. So I'm here mostly to thank you for getting it in the budget. But it's no good in the budget if you don't hire somebody to do something with it. So I need your help, and I thank you if you'll give it to me.
Thank you, Evie. Andrew Clark.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Town Council. My name's Andrew Clark, Buncombe County resident and Legislative Chair for Black Mountain Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 9157, home of the Purple Heart Pub. speaking here today on behalf of those who serve this great nation and continue to defend our freedoms, and encourage those elected representatives to invest in those that make, defend, and protect the American way of life. The VFW is a familiar sight and symbolizes a commitment to the nation, both home and abroad. Our mission is to foster comradeship amongst United States veterans of overseas conflicts, to serve our veterans, the military, and our communities, to advocate on behalf of all veterans. Our vision, to ensure that veterans are respected for their service, always receive the earned entitlements, and recognized for their sacrifices and their loved ones that have made the sacrifices for this great country. Our core values always puts in interest our members first, treats donors as partners in our cause, promotes patriotism, honor to military service, ensure the care of veterans and their families, serve our communities, promote a positive image of VFW, and respect the diversity of veterans' opinions. VFW Post 9157 is celebrating 75 plus years and providing services and programs to the veterans of this amazing town. While we always are in need of community support and funding, we invite the community, residents and businesses to support our annual golf tournament, September 15th, 2023 at the Black Mountain Golf Course. There's still time to sign up for players and teams, as well as event sponsorships, and we appreciate the Black Mountain Golf Course for working with us for many years on this large fundraiser for us. For more information about our golf tournament, please contact us at 828-669-2347 for more details. In closing, I want to thank the town of Black Mountain Council for the past and current years of support and continued efforts upholding a promise made for a price paid. Please invest in veterans, please invest in emergency services, and please invest in essential workers that make, defend, and protect the American way of life. I thank you for the time and yield back.
Thank you. Last on citizen comment, Julie White.
Julie White, 205 9th Street. So I'm here to just talk to you for a few minutes about an agenda item you will address later, which is the recommendations to adjust the ordinance governing the Active Mobility Commission. At our June meeting, we invited members of council and staff to attend the meeting to discuss how the commission could be effective and valuable to the council. Josh Harold was there, Jennifer Tipton was there, Archie and Alice were both there, and we thank you for being there. Council members present affirmed their desire to hear from the commission to get their input on bike and ped projects. So the way the current ordinance is written, the commission can only work on things on which the council has asked for input. And we wanted a way to present ideas or problems or issues to council. And it was decided jointly that the best way to do that would be to try to put something we wanted to say on the agenda. And if you guys accepted it, fine, we'd address it. And if y'all didn't, then we knew you weren't ready to address that issue. Then the other question was, there was discussion about the flow of communication between the planning department, the council, and the commission. So commission members expressed concern with the way projects were presented to the council without any input from the commission. And the way the current ordinance is written, there's no provision for this flow of communication. Again, following discussion, we recommended that all of us recommended that the planning department should notify the commission when they begin the planning of a project which affects bicycling and or walking, and their input should be used in that project, in the planning of that project. So last night I got home and I happened to be watching Alice's little thing about the agenda, and I saw we were on the agenda and I was excited. So I went and I looked at the documents, and there our recommendations were. Great. And then on the next page, there's like a 3-page staff report for the proposed changes to the activity mobility ordinance. And it was pretty much a 3-page discussion of why those changes did not need to be made. I think this sentence sums it up pretty well. It is unusual for a town the size of Black Mountain to have a freestanding greenway or active mobility commission simply because there's not constant or regular need for their services. So my question to you is the same that I had when y'all came to visit. Is the Active Mobility Commission of value to you? And if it is, please give us the means to make a meaningful contribution. Thank you.
Thank you. That's citizens' comment for tonight. Let's move on, and we'll get the auditor's report.
So the auditor's report has been struck for this evening. They will be back in September. The consent agenda is A through I. A being adoption of
Let me ask
minutes.
just a question. Is the report ready?
No,
The report still is not ready.
nope, we do not have it from them.
Any particular reason why we're almost a year out?
There's multiple reasons and we've talked about those. I'm happy to talk to you about it.
Well, I mean, it was just, again, we were just,
So
I
again,
was on the board for 10 years and was on the mayor for 4. We never went past October.
y'all never did a software change like we just did. And that is the big reason, as I've mentioned before, why we're late.
So,
A complete financial software change, if you've never done one, is very in-depth, and it takes a long time to get through it. And that's just the reality of it.
well, I guess that's just the way it is.
Adoption of minutes will be July 6, 2023 agenda meeting, July 10th, 2023 regular meeting. B is fire truck financing. C is patrol car financing. D, call for public hearing for text amendment to conditional zoning. E is a call for public hearing for text amendment to the primary fire district. F is a call for public hearing for a map amendment to the primary fire district. Those two kind of go together. G is approval of Amendment 1 to the preliminary engineering contract client agreement project for EB 5547A. That is the first leg of the Greenway, which really is only going to, the old Greenway, Riverwalk Greenway. This would encompass the intersection at Sutton Avenue and Broadway. H, approval of Amendment 2, preliminary engineering client agreement project EB 547B. That is the larger section that will run down Vance and Terry Estates and end at Vance Avenue at the end of the Oaks Trail. And finally, I, a resolution to enter into a contract for engineering and grant administration services for the Veterans Park Stream Bank Restoration Project. This is the FEMA project 436912. You'll recall, this is the work that was destroyed under Tropical Storm Fred a couple of years ago. And Kimley Horn will be the engineer of record for that project. And that'll be your consent agenda.
And that's in the new handout that we have that's.
I just have one change on the minutes from the July 10th meeting. I was not here, and all the votes say it was 5-0. I think it should be changed to 4-0.
Thank you for catching that, Bill.
Yes, thank you.
I've got a question here on the fire truck. The reasoning, we have the $400,000 in fund balance, don't we? That was.
Actually, capital reserve. That's correct.
And then what is the reasoning for financing this?
You know, we had this discussion when we approved the fire truck, purchasing that demo fire truck at the 2 meetings ago.
That we just talked about, but we didn't get into really any in depth, and that's why I just wanted to ask you.
It seemed like council was okay with us financing the remainder of this truck to keep cash on hand in that capital reserve fund, potentially purchase another truck in the future to keep that fund with money in it.
Okay. Just because you have it printed here, it says budget impact, no impact for FY 23-24.
There shouldn't be a budget impact for this year, no.
Where's the money gonna come from?
So the money, the actual payments won't be taking place until next budget year. So we've already paid $300,000 down now. But the payments don't take effect to another year.
So it's another year that we don't have to start paying.
That's correct.
I just didn't see that on here, because it said closed by September 30, 2023. It just wasn't listed on here.
Right, and for every loan, you know, all the patrol cars we typically do every year, all those are payments in the next fiscal year. We don't typically ever pay the year we get the loan. It's always the next year.
I mean, for most people that borrow, that's usually, most people that will go buy a house and borrow, they start their payments, so.
Yeah.
That's the reason I was questioning this.
Yeah, I think towns are a little bit different. We get that option, I think. We get lower rates than anybody else would get too, so.
All right, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda?
I move that we accept the consent agenda. with the changes Bill mentioned.
Any discussion?
I had one quick call out. The FEMA project for the Veterans Park Extreme Bank Restoration.
Yes.
That's funded in full
It
by
is.
FEMA, right? So
Correct.
no additional.
FEMA
town
and the
funds
state of North Carolina.
in the
yes.
state, okay. And it was 300,000, is that right?
And it's a little bit more than that, but yes. I think that final cost was around $360,000.
Great. Well, I'm glad we're not having to pay for that
The
again.
first time we did it, it was about 150.
Yeah.
Our portion.
No, we didn't pay anything. It was just, I mean, almost, that was grant funding. I think we had about $10,000 in it in the beginning. But it was Duke Energy funding, North Carolina Department of Water Resources funding, and Pigeon River funding for that.
And the total on all that was only 150.
Yeah, that's how much things have
With that
inflated
much-
since
with that
then.
many tractors out there for
Yeah.
that many weeks.
It was good.
That's
It was,
pretty amazing.
it was a good price, first time around. Not so much this time.
Any more discussion? Not all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. All right. There's our second citizen comment for the upcoming new business. Does anybody wish to speak? If not, we'll move on then to number 7, the public hearing.
Your public hearing is for a text amendment for vested rights, and our Jessica will lead us through this.
Normally, this is your cue that the meeting's almost over, so don't get too excited. So this is a very simple text amendment. We are simply striking conditional zoning from the list of types of site-specific development that have 2-year vested rights. It should not have been included in the first place. The conditional zoning provides those rights. They do not need they don't need vested rights to hold them to their zoning designation. So we are simply making that correction by removing that from the list.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So the public hearing is open. If anyone wishes to speak to this particular issue for the amendments of vested rights, please step forward. Not seeing anybody, do I hear a motion to go ahead and close the public hearing?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Last, but to adopt ordinance 02314, statement of consistency included as presented before as amended. I hear a motion.
So moved.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Thank you.
Jim, excuse me, no unfinished business. And then new business. Your first item will be your NC Deeks, and don't ask me what that stands for because I'm not going to be able to remember. But this is recycling cart grant funding. We applied for this a number of months back. Our waste reduction specialist is here. Rochelle is here. She did a great job applying for the funding and was successful in getting the funding. So how that works, we were awarded the maximum amount of funding as long as we purchase 96-gallon toters, which are right behind Bill. That's the size of those. If you purchase smaller amounts than that size, you do not get rebates for it. You do not get grant funding for them. So, and that is simply because we offer a bi-weekly service, twice a month. If you do it every week, you can go with smaller size cans and get the grant funding. But since we do every other week, this is the size of the toter that you get grant funding for, and that's it. The grant, they will pay up to $116,000 in grant funding for these. We have estimated based on, I think, about 5,000 carts or so. We're looking at around, it's over $400,000, or almost $400,000. We would be on the hook for paying About $233,000 is what we would have to pay ourselves for these carts, taking off the 116. If you bought 96 gallons for everybody, you would get that maximum amount.
And the number that we anticipate needing to purchase
It's
is,
around 5,000. So
So
this,
having 5,000, we've got a lot of seniors, a lot of single people who would never, probably in a month or 2 months, ever fill that thing up. Not to mention the fact that they would have a lot of problems. Now, there's a need for this, no question about it. Just in doing some math, if we have, let's say, roughly 2,000 people that don't need anything more than just the tote, and maybe 2 totes.
you're talking about the small green?
Yeah, just a little smaller thing. That if we went ahead and used those, and that would be at no cost because we've already got those around.
we'll have to buy them. They don't have enough, but yes,
I mean,
minimal.
there's a lot of them out there, and so that if somebody wanted to get a big one like this, they could bring their small one in. And so that, let's just say then, and this is just for talk purposes, that there's 1,500 out there that need a big one, and that another 1,500 could use the smaller skies. When you look at the difference in the cost of having to go ahead and you buy the smaller 52 gallon, I guess it's 52, 54, whatever.
There's 64 and 48, I think.
Okay, somewhere in there, we'll just say 50, just to make it simple. That's less money than it's gonna cost to get these, and then we don't have to buy any of them, but just maybe some of the small totes. If we bought all those, we would be spending less money than if we got the grant. So, with so many people who do not want a big container like that, who can't use a big container like that, I just think that this is a way to really listen to the public and what they want, accommodate what we need with the big ones, and then go ahead and we solve the problem. I just don't think that we need to, because this way we don't impose on people a larger cart like that, that they just can't maneuver around, or they don't have room for.
And I'll just say, what we'll need to do, regardless of what happens, is get rid of the blue bags. We're not gonna do blue bags anymore, because no one else does those.
Excellent, yeah, very good, yeah, no question
So
about it.
it would just go in a that or something else. It just would not be bagged.
I want to address the maneuverability part, because I've heard that from folks too, like what if my driveway is really steep or have mobility issues, and Josh, I was wondering if you could speak to
So,
that process.
if folks have mobility issues, we provide a backdoor service currently. I don't know if the folks you've spoken to are currently on that service,
I'm thinking.
or if they would be eligible.
Yeah.
But they're welcome to, to let us know. I can't promise that all of them would be eligible for that. I don't know, the conditions of those folks, but we do have a separate backdoor program now, and I'm happy to let Jamie or
They have to have an option.
to talk about
They have to
it.
be able to prove that they have that disability.
Yeah.
So you're not gonna, if you buy 10 of those, you're still gonna get grant funding. You get grant funding for every one of those you buy.
It's like a percentage off of
I
the.
think it's $10 a cart or something. What is it, Rochelle? $40 a cart? What is the grant funding?
It's
$15.
Yeah,
each
and
cart,
that's
what you get.
including the $40,000 from the state.
Sorry, say that again?
Will you come up here and speak in the microphone, please?
Hello again. Yeah, that's gonna be $15 per each cart. And then from the state, we are receiving an additional $40,000 from the waste reduction proposal, just to be getting carts in as well. And that, these carts specifically, just to comment on what you had said about the totes, the 2 reasons why maybe the totes are more cost-effective now, they will be, but these totes have a 12-year warranty. And I have been going to the tailgate on Saturdays and just getting, resident feedback. They've been asking me questions, and a lot of people have commented on how those things have been broken and that they still have to lift them. So that's my only comment on that regard. But yeah.
So just to clarify, we get $15 a cart whether we offer the 96 gallon to everyone or not?
So we would get, for every 96 gallon cart we buy, we will get $15 of that paid back. So if you do, a variety of other ones, let's say you do 2,000 of these, we'll get $15 for each of the $2,000 carts. And then the rest, we would not get any funding for. And our point of contact for this grant is Sandy, who is the main person fronting the grant with the state. And she's very open to being able to work with us if, this is the standard and people can't or, aren't filling this. There is ways to coordinate with her. She's very open to trying to figure something out as well. That's just the standard, and then that's the policy with the recycling partnership grant we have.
So this is a different understanding than I had going into the meeting, so I'm just trying to clarify. We could potentially have, offer everybody a 96 gallon cart, people can opt for a 50 gallon cart instead, and we don't lose the grant. We just don't get paid for those 50 gallon carts.
So technically, we applied for a universal plan with the grant, only because that is what we currently offer residents. They don't have to subscribe to the recycling, they automatically get it. What we can do is maybe have like a sheet, and if people want to talk about, going a smaller size, what is recommended specifically from the recycling partnership is that everyone gets this for 1 month, let's say 1 month, and then if people are not about it, or they aren't filling it, or maybe they are having mobility issues, then we have time to get people on backdoor stops, or talk with Sandy about figuring out a smaller can for those people.
To me, there's a couple of questions here. But just to start at the beginning so everybody understands, we're sending 6 million pounds to the landfill of trash every year, correct? I think that's what you told us last time.
Yeah, and I have the fiscal year report somewhere over here.
I think we got it at our last meeting, and Jamie was telling us it's around 3,000 tons a month or a
Yeah.
year. So,
Yeah, for the year.
6 million pounds. So in my mind, whatever we can do to reduce what's going to the landfill and shift it over toward recycling and/or composting is a good thing. I don't think anybody disagrees with that. My concern here is, because I haven't heard a whole lot of enthusiasm about this either. Not that I've talked to everybody in town by any means, you've talked to more than I have, but the last thing I want to do is shove something down people's throat and then have backlash about it and just general animosity about the town making them do something. So in my mind, a little time spent in preparation would be well spent. But I think we're on the same page about it all. But as in everything we've done, every new project we've undertaken since I've been on the council, the rollout is really important. And you want people to know what's going on. You don't want them to know why we're doing this, why it matters, before all of a sudden this thing shows up in their driveway. And I think we have a fair amount of citizens who don't recycle at all right now. Is that your impression, Jamie? A few, not that many, or most?
It looks like,
We've got quite a bit that do. We've got some that don't. It's a small amount. I'm not sure the percentage.
Well, that's very encouraging. I had the impression that we had more that weren't than I thought than we wanted. So, okay.
yeah.
No, because I know sometimes if we have a new sling or somebody and they end up, mixing recyclable trash, it don't take long when we hear about it. So people passionate about the recycling.
Yeah. Yay.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm thinking is it would be worth a minute to craft a community initiative around this, start educating way in advance. The blue bags are going away, but, and letting people know what's going on. Just citizens hate to be surprised. I do too, I want to know what's going on. And as far as that size goes, I I'm just thinking about me, you know, it would take me quite some time to fill that up, but I wouldn't mind having a thing to roll out to the driveway. That's, if you want to call me an elderly woman. Am I a typical, I don't know, but, and, you know, instead of having to carry the totes, that would probably be appealing. Now, the concerns I've heard from people are, where do you store something that big? And then down the road, I guess in my dream world, we're gonna get a matching one for garbage sometime in the future, and there'd be two of them, right? So a lot of folks don't have garages, and then they're concerned about bears. So I'm not sure I came with any big answers tonight, but I just wanted to share some concerns and my thoughts about taking a minute to craft, to really educate the public. And then the ongoing education is so important about what is recyclable and what's not, because half the time I'm confused too.
It's very
And
confusing.
try
I
really
agree.
hard, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It's very confusing just because every city, county does things differently.
Right.
Just to respond with what you were
Please,
saying
go
about the
ahead. Yeah, I love
education,
that.
one of the great things, obviously, we're getting, you know, money from these grants, but we're also getting state, and the Recycling Partnership is a very large organization across the US. We're getting their resources. And since we're the last city really in the county switching over, they already have all of this knowledge that they are giving us, all of the, you know, new education material. You know, we can follow what the county already does, which we don't already, just because it's hard since we have different rules here.
Yeah.
But they, you know, that's one of the perks with doing this grant program, is me being able directly to work with Sandy and all these other people on education, doing cart tagging, education for, you know, our sanitation staff, and, you know, educating people far in advance. That's why even I've been at the tailgate, just
I
to
love that. I
being
didn't
able to
realize.
start
Yeah.
slowly having people see that I'm there. So
Yeah,
yes,
so we don't
that
have to
would work.
reinvent the whole wheel on creating a community project
Correct.
about this.
Correct, yeah. We would be following almost to a T all the recommendations from the state. And then any other, you know, unique or fun ideas people are brainstorming.
You were addressing the thing about $15 per tote, I mean, on the big one. And that comes from the Recycling Partnership.
Correct.
All right? What about the state grant?
The state grant is $40,000 towards our initiative, which is getting the
If we could
recycling
buy two
carts.
of these things, we could still get $40,000.
So I believe I think we have to spend like 20% of what the total budget is. I have it written, it's in the contract. But
You're right, it is.
yeah, it's like 20% that we have to spend off.
So that'd be roughly $70,000.
Yes, that's the one thing that they have for the state one.
Okay, so it sounds like that, from what Doug was questioning about there, that we don't have to purchase all of these for all 5,000 people. And so that it's possible that we could send a flyer out in the water bill and get a good survey of what the people want. Whether they want a 50-gallon, whether they want a 96, or they just want to be totes. And I think
I'm
that
just giving you a heads up that a lot of people don't get a bill in the mail anymore. I don't ever get a flyer in the mail because it's all online.
We can try a handful of different ways to get.
There are a lot of
response.
ways to get a
But I
message
mean,
out.
that way we could get the data back that you're seeking then. I'm just saying.
I think an initiative to seek information
Yeah.
before we foist it on people is a good thing.
My only comment on that is the grant that we originally applied for was a universal proposal, because that's what we were already utilizing, everybody getting equal access to the same thing. You know, and that's the whole the Recycling Partnership agenda, is it's no cost to residents, equal access to the same thing.
Is access, and whether they accept it or not is another
So-
story, but they had access to it.
Yeah, so we did universal, they did have opt-out options, we did apply for a universal proposal. I am not sure,
Right.
honestly, how, I would have to go back to the Recycling Partnership and see about doing an amendment on our grant proposal. just because we originally applied for a universal one. And once you do a opt-out, you get significantly less money. So once you have people do a, let's say, an opt-out, I believe you only get like between $5 and $10 a cart.
So what you're saying, explain to me, if we opt out, saying that we don't receive all the same size, is that what you're saying?
So if we were to do like the opt-out, we would be getting less money per cart as well.
In other words, we have to order the same thing.
Correct, which is why when I was saying with you how that's why the standard is to start with this one, and then if we need to adjust, we can, because I guess the universal, but if we do the opt-out, that's when we get lower money awarded to us.
I think what I'm hearing is, if we order, we have to order the same thing.
Correct.
To begin.
To
with,
get the full
full
amount of money. The reason we had gone with that universal proposal is because that's how we would get the most amount of money towards carts. The $15, and then it would have to be the 96 gallon because we are biweekly. Versus, I think it was, I don't have it off the top of my head, but it goes down in $5 increments if you do a opt-out or an opt-in type of program.
If we're gonna tell people that we're not doing blue bags anymore, we have to have another option. Whether it's the green toters or these or something, but there's a lot of folks that just put those blue bags out by the street in no kind of container, so. Before we tell people no more blue bags, we better have a plan in place,
Correct.
right?
Yes. Yeah, and whether that be, obviously, I'm here talking about the grant, but either way, it would have to be another vessel we'd be purchasing. And I know we talked about that at the February agenda, I think the pricing on like additional bins. But yeah, my only comment with that is they don't really have a warranty. And then people still have to, you're talking about the mobility, people still have to then lift those. And that's, that is, I don't know the logistics, but I feel like that is just as problematic.
Part of the appeal was that our staff wouldn't have to bend over. either,
Correct.
and
That was the other thing.
We were concerned about their well-being. The truck.
Yes, correct. We
I'd be
already,
interested in hearing from Jamie on this point.
So
Jamie, wouldn't it be preferable to have everything that can be done with a lift arm?
it would, and setting, and, Rochelle's done a really good job with the grant, but just looking at, I've been looking at the pros and the cons to the whole thing, and I was here when we had the totes, and, if Tasha was here, she could back me on this. You see a lot of people that still think we have them, and they got more recycled now, and they keep coming back and asking for them, and we don't supply them no more. So, the thing about these, if you've never really felt one, that thing's not heavy. It's designed with those wheels, when you tilt it back, all the weight is basically balanced out, the weight's gone. If you see the totes like right here at the restaurant, and they fill them full of the glass, the heaviest thing you're gonna put in that's glass. But when you tip it back, it's gonna level that weight out. If you grab a hold of that thing, and you do. The only thing I can tell you, one of the cons, and you mentioned it, Pam, was, storage is a big thing. But where I come from, and I know it's a lot of money, and I'm just gonna tell you the pros and cons of what I come up with. It's more uniform. It makes the town look better. If you got the lid shut, it can't get full of water. The wind blows, you come through a storm, it's not gonna blow trash all over town. I would just encourage you, and I'm sure every one of you have, if you ride through town on any given trash day, tell me what it looks like with the trash sitting out on the curb and the wind blowing. Okay, and that stuff, even those totes get full of water.
Yeah, but they got holes in it, though. The totes do. Well, mine do.
Yeah, I mean, they got holes, but, if they're full, and it's like a sort of like a cooler, a cooler melts ice and it still holds water if something clogs that hole. So, it would be better on the employees. It would be more uniform and a more better look for the town. It would be better as far as critters and animals. The storage would be the problem. I know it's a lot of money, so that's a big decision to make. But just giving you the facts about it, about people saying they concerned about getting it to the curb. Well, the truth is, whether you got that cart or whether you got that bin, you still gotta get it to the curb. So, You know, are you gonna carry it like this? Or are you gonna tilt it back to you and roll it? So if they are to the point where they can't do neither, then, you know, we encourage them to go to the doctor, get the proper note, bring it to us, and then we do the backdoor service.
And that's an option that we already have.
And that is an option that we already have in place, and we do that for people. And, you know, we do the doctor's note because unfortunately, everybody would want backdoor service. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like the pros outweighs the cons, but, you know, nothing's ever perfect. And I will say, going back to what you was talking about, Pam, she's done a really good job going to the market every weekend, trying to get the information out and getting feedback from people. And as far as I know, we've not really had any negative feedback. We have had people have questions, though, which I would too if somebody was presenting something to me. I would have a lot of questions, but my job is to present y'all with the facts, and, you know, that's the facts I can come up with. Now, as far as the grant part, you know, she's done all the work on that, so I'm not gonna take any credit for that, but she's done a really good job, and, we've just worked together to try to get you the information that we feel that y'all can make a good decision and be comfortable with, so.
But if it were up to you, I know you say you'd maybe just go with all of it, but if we had several sizes,
right,
as long as it's got a lift arm,
right,
that's as opposed to the totes.
That's right.
Because those can't be lifted up. Those have to be manually lifted.
That's correct, and, you know, I'm not trying to single out any restaurants, and I'm not gonna say any names, but just like the Sourwood, you know, we do the sanitation for Sourwood. Try, out of all the vendors there, try to picking up the ones that come out of the food courts. You know, it takes 2 people to pick a 50-gallon bag up, and, so when you fill these recycles at these restaurants full of these bottles and stuff, I mean, one of the best slingers I got probably weighs 120 pounds, and he's wringing wet when he weighs that. So, you know, the driver's having to exit the truck to get out to help him empty these, you know, these carrying totes, to where this, you know, the slinger would pull it to the truck, hook it to the tipper, pull one lever, empties it, and he rolls it back to the curb. So,
And the thing is, though, we could go ahead and accommodate those restaurants like that by getting them these.
That's
And
correct.
still go ahead and, by going with the opt-out, we still could go ahead and let the folks who just want to do the totes, like myself, could do those, and we end up solving the problem, and probably wouldn't even need the grant. But there's enough time between now and the end of September, I would think, for you to contact them to see about what an opt-out would be. Can we do that? Instead, and still get that? Instead of the $15, we'll get $10.
Yes, I would say yes. Just because last time I had talked with Sandy, as long as we could still make a deadline of June 2024, yeah.
I mean,
That date.
These are great things to have, you know, but not great for everybody.
So
Get the big ones, get the medium ones, and then have some of the totes. Totes are not that heavy.
I'm quite in favor of having rollers for everyone. I think that, you know, the county does that, the city of Asheville does that. It looks so much nicer, it's easier on the sanitation workers. It is much more protected against the animals. Of course, bears can still get in there, but, you know, raccoons and stuff may not. And it just, I think it's a better move. You know, we're trying to solve, the reason this came up, I think, is because we're trying to solve 3 big problems. One is eliminating the blue bags, which means that we have to provide something for everyone if we want to do that. 2 is waste reduction, right? Encouraging recycling, better education, but also providing people with ways to recycle so that if their green toter fills up, they don't just automatically throw it in the trash, right? And then the 3rd is the unified carts for efficiency with town staff. And, you know, in my opinion, rollers are kind of the only way to do that. That said, I don't think that 96 gallon is the right for everybody, and so I would encourage us to explore, to get more feedback from the community, and also explore what our options are for offering different sizes.
you know, and a good, you know, one thing about the 96 too is I think you got, you know, not everybody may not need it, but it's really designed for everything. Cardboard, glass, everything. So if you do use the toter, and somebody, it's Christmas and they've ordered off Amazon, they got a lot of cardboard, it's not gonna fit in that toter.
Yeah.
It's gonna
Yeah.
have to, and that was my purpose about, if it's all sitting out there and we get a storm like we got Saturday evening, it's gonna be in your neighbor's yard if it's not properly, placed and took care of. So I think that's the whole idea of the big one, but like I say, there may be some people that don't even recycle at all, so it's just, we need to, that's a good idea to collect some more information, which is one reason why she'd been going to the tailgate market too.
Yeah. And thank you
Ask
for
these
all
people
the
and
work
get
that
feedback,
you put in that.
and,
Yeah, this is great. My family, we have the 64 gallon, I think, so the one size below this. And if there's a birthday or Christmas or anything like that, we got, boxes filled up alongside it. Like 64 is not big enough for us every other week, right? Most time. So 96 would be the way I would want to go personally.
Right.
But I don't think that everybody has much kids buying toys and stuff, so.
And if you did wanna do both, and we wanna do the totes too, we quit providing those totes 3 or 4 years ago, so that would be something we'd have to go back and revisit, and if we wanted to provide those, we would still have to budget for those also, so.
Or just collect the ones that are out
Yeah,
there.
I'd be happy to give mine back. I'll use them. I'll come drop them off, but,
That's correct, but, there's options out there, so,
I'm thinking more along the lines as Doug. I think uniformly for the town, I think this is the best option. However, I do also feel that this size isn't for everyone.
that's right.
I still believe that all of them should have the lift capability. And I know everybody keeps saying, well, this tote, we can do the totes, people can pick them up, carry them in front. If you're older or elderly, to me, and my thinking, and I've had some training in this area, if you're elderly and you're picking up a tote and you're walking up a hill and you can't see in front of you and you can't see what's in the front, that's just as dangerous. That's just as dangerous.
And another option too, so, and I can just use this from self-experience. My mom's 75 years old. She lives by herself, and I used to go get her trash for her every week. She lives in Asheville. And when Asheville went to these totes, the divisions themselves made this little area where everybody that lived in there put their cans in one area. So now the cans are there. She don't even have to roll it. She just goes up there and puts her trash in the can. So, in that situation, it made her life a lot easier. So,
I bet it would be hard pressed to find a community around here that didn't require rollers. Everywhere I've lived or everywhere you see my parents that live, they all require the rollers, and I think that's pretty standard.
and if it's something that you decide to do, it's like Rochelle said, there's 12-year warranty on that. So that's a long warranty, 12 years. I mean, that's over a decade. So. So that's one good thing about it. You're not just buying it and then eating the cost of if it gets damaged too. So.
does the warranty track even without the universal purchase?
Oh, yeah, that's specifically toters
Yeah.
warranty. And that.
Oh, no
toter-
matter the size?
The brand.
Yeah, that's just their brand
Oh, I
warranty.
thought that was just with the 96.
Oh,
Okay,
yeah, no,
thank you.
that's
They got
their
a good
warranty.
So Tote's probably one of the top brands.
Yeah, especially because like you can see on their wheels don't pop out. And just like Kirby and the county, that they said toters were the best just because they're so durable and like the wheels.
Yeah. I feel like I'm falling into consensus with, what Archie and Doug have shared. I am curious just to hear a little bit about the timeline. I feel like I'm just like ready to make something happen. So if we were, it sounds like we're not gonna vote yes tonight, but if we were to, what happens? Like, what are we gonna see over the next few months or whatever?
Oh, sure. So we would then sign the contract. The contract has a little bit of an adjusted timeline, so it would be pushed back a bit, but we would be ordering the carts. I would be talking with Sandy from the state about designing our new outreach material. We would be sending like information probably a month out to residents you know, a flyer or something, like, here, it's coming, this is what it's gonna look like, here's how you can prep for this. Maybe even here's the window you can expect these things to arrive, and then, we would be rolling them out. I think we decided we'd probably roll them out ourselves, like with the sanitation staff, and just get them out. They would be coming with a pamphlet that had, like the city of Asheville has those magnets. And that's what it would be. It would be one of those magnets for the fridge. It would have all the information, like these like fancy sheets that would be in the packet. And then additionally, it would be just training with, you know, town, with sanitation staff on how to recycle correctly, how to answer questions, especially I'm sure the sanitation staff will get a lot of comments and questions, and then even for them to train them how to properly write little information on if they have done things incorrectly, residents, that's called cart tagging, so that if, you know, someone has been incorrectly doing things, tagging what they're doing wrong or what they're doing right, and that's also something the state has a resource for that's already template done, that we just put our name on.
So the rollout,
Yeah.
really loving the pun, is like 2 months?
So, yeah, and honestly, we can take our time, like,
Like
that's,
signing to receiving?
yeah, I mean, it could be 3 months, it could, we could take a little bit more time. Really, our only deadline is that we've paid for
Okay.
everything, that all of our things are complete. The final report, I believe, is due May 30th of, if we can give any feedback.
I'm just real over these blue bags, and,
Yeah.
and I see the benefit to our staff, and so, you know,
Right.
I wanna make this happen and
Yeah, I understand.
be able to
But yeah,
move
we
forward,
can,
so.
we have a lot of time to problem solve a lot of these things and communicate with Sandy from the state if we need to do any of those mobility or other issues.
I found the conversation super helpful. Your information and also the other council members made a lot of good points, and it helped me get past some of my concerns. And I'm feeling it along the same lines, that we should go universal. And you know, I said I wouldn't be able to fill that thing, but when you said the cardboard, it's a whole nother story, isn't it? So I would be, yeah.
Everything, you know,
Right.
not just bottles, and it's designed for
Right,
recycle
right.
as a
So-
whole.
Yeah, I'm feeling a lot better about this option now than I was before.
Yeah, and I feel like the cardboard thing, that's just so bulky, and I've even seen video of the sanitation staff trying to like pick up all the cardboard, and they've gotta, you know, finagle their way and toss it over versus, you know, this is big enough to put the cardboard in.
And in reality, we got some businesses we pick up, that cardboard wise, they could fill 50 of those up.
I like that.
I've seen it sitting on the street.
So, if I've heard everybody, we're gonna do a survey some citizens about sizes, and then ask about an opt-out option.
So,
So Pam said universal.
I know,
So did I
I
miss
changed
the-
my mind,
Okay.
but I'm not the only one, but I'm thinking this is the size to go with, and just do that. Just do this size and not toters anymore.
What if I brought back next month a survey, some survey results, and we'll get some, I don't know how many we'll get, but we'll do the best we can, and then some options on the prices of the other sizes, if you want it, if not, that's fine too. And the question about asking about opt-out, and see what that looks like. If y'all have a desire, and if not, that's fine too.
Because you can run parallel tracks, you can do the opt-out information, you can do the
Oh, yeah.
recycled information, and then we're still within the time frame of the end of September.
It sounds like most of the council members are in favor of having, not an opt-out, but everybody has to have something. So that's what I would
Yes.
be in favor of, that
Opt-out.
we're gonna have
Is that
some
what you're
kind of
hearing?
cart that's liftable
Yes.
for everybody.
What I'm talking about when opt-out is the portion of the grant where,
Oh,
with that opt-out option.
okay.
Where we can still get money if we don't buy the big one.
Okay,
If we
got
get
it.
money for a small one,
Gotcha.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay,
How does that sound for
that
everybody?
sounds good. Sounds
That's
good.
fine.
And we'll have
Fine with
something
me.
for you, hopefully. We'll have enough information where we can make a decision in September.
Yeah,
Sounds good.
I do already have a survey like ready to go, so we could have a survey ready in a week.
Awesome.
We'll have it out tomorrow.
Rochelle, thank you
Would you make sure
so
that all
much.
the council members and myself get a copy of that?
Yeah, I can send you, I already have it mostly done, so it can be in your hands this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Thank you for your work. Thank you.
Do we need to take an action, or?
Oh,
I don't think so, I don't think
Wait,
so.
wait.
Okay, I'm good. 9B, ordinance 023-11, amendments for Active Mobility Commission. So you have this, I think, in your packets. Julie has made a couple comments. Let me locate it here.
while you're doing that, I wanted to briefly share that my partner, Michelle Knight, is on the Active Mobility Commission. I don't see that this is a conflict of interest for me to review the ordinance, but in the interest of transparency, there it is.
And everything is in here that is being proposed.
I
Yes.
think the changes are in black and in bold.
Yeah,
That we were suggesting.
yeah, so I mean, you're in agreement with that? And the
Yes.
mobility
Yes,
commission's in
that is what we
agreement with that?
discussed at the meeting where Alice and Archie were and Jonathan.
Great, great.
So we've got some strike throughs in red.
I'm not sure.
Those are from staff. It looks, I mean,
Those are just, those
that
are
looks like
corrections.
good editing
Yes.
stuff. Okay. But the underlined and bolded is what the commission proposed.
That's correct.
So can I start just by saying out loud how much I appreciate the expertise and talent that is represented on our Active Mobility Commission. I served on it was called the Greenways Commission then, but I served on it for 3 years and came away just really wowed, and I've known him since, and a lot of expertise, a lot of passion around these issues. And I don't want this conversation to ever imply that they are not valued and that their service has not been valued for a long time. They've been at it for a long time. So I just wanted to say that to start with. And now it feels like just a conversation around how best to utilize that expertise and that passion. And I know that the commission wants to feel like they're being utilized and they are useful. So that's the conversation tonight, how to make that happen. But I didn't want for 1 second anybody to think that they are not valued.
Well, you heard Julie express, favor of this, the way that it's written, and, is anybody willing to go ahead and make a motion for it?
Or I think we should discuss a few things here.
I would say from a staff standpoint, we have issues with B as far as them serving as consultants. We don't feel like that is an appropriate term to use.
I don't think we used the word consultant. Did we? If we
Yeah,
did,
you did.
I totally get that.
You did.
We just want to have input.
So walk me through the process. Where's Jessica? Are you the one to talk at this moment? You lucky woman, you. So currently, let's say we're gonna build a brand-new greenway. We've never thought of it before.
You've never thought of it before?
This is a new, I'm trying to.
I'm just getting the variables of
about a new bike?
the scenario of the
Sidewalks.
game.
I'm just thinking a new project
A new
of some
project.
kind.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
wait, I think where is the project idea originated?
That's
It's
right.
it's like the whole bag, right?
So that's where I'm coming, that's
Okay.
where I'm going with this.
Yes. So if today, Pam, you came to this meeting and said, I've got an idea for a greenway, and it goes from here to here, I'd be like, okay, and then we would see if that was in a previously adopted plan, and we would have consensus about whether or not we were gonna pursue that. And that new idea would have an opportunity, if you said, please come back to all of us with information about funding opportunities and constraints, just, it's like a very high-level staff report. Part of that staff report would be taking it to Active Mobility because I would be preparing it to come to you, so they would get a crack at it. Now,
So that's a key thing right there, right? That you would talk to them before. At one point, I got the impression that they're only allowed to talk about things that we send to them.
Well, that is also an opportunity.
Okay.
They're not mutually exclusive.
So,
There's nothing's been, we don't have I mean, it feels like it because we talk about the same projects all the time, but we have a very small number of active mobility projects. They're very expensive. We can pursue a few at a time. So there isn't a lot to take to them on a regular basis. Now, if one of you were perusing an already adopted plan around budget season, I peruse previously adopted plans, that input has been provided through the adoption of that plan. That has already been adopted. At that point, staff is looking at all the constraints of budget season. We're saying, what can we do, what we can't do? Are we already overcommitted? All the things. And we make recommendations to you about projects we maybe are able to pursue. May even say to you, this is something we'd like to pursue, but we're not even sure we've got enough money. Do you mind if we go to the NPO? But those things have already had public input. I think a real fundamental breakdown is that there's an impression that staff designs things. Staff does not design things. Staff, looks at the adopted plan, which is extremely conceptual. These are squiggles. They're not ground truth at all. And we say, we really want this project, and we work with design professionals and engineers. We are the regulatory nerds. They are the ones who draw out the plans. And so there's really a division of labor there that sometimes I think is misunderstood. I have a lot of experience in active transportation planning, so I generally know what typology is probably going to work. I don't design it, though, and I don't ground truth it, and I don't vet it. I don't do any of that analysis. Engineers do that. And we do this for the same reason. Well, first of all, if it's on a DOT road, they're going to require that. We also want that level of expertise to make sure that we're not creating liability and problems for the town unintentionally. The same way if someone complains to you about a four-way stop or wanting a four-way stop, we're like, that probably would work, but we're not going to make that call. The town manager doesn't make that call. The traffic engineer makes that call.
so
And we
you're
report
saying
back to you.
the active mobility folks have a point of entree as it's coming, before it comes to the council, they get to mull things over, and then after it comes from council as well, twice?
If it is already an adopted plan,
Let's say it's not.
then yes, it would go to them. If I were going to write a new grant to bring something to construction, like a private grant or something, they could make comment on that. So there are certain points where it makes sense to plug in. Where it doesn't make sense is for people to be designing things who are not designers and engineers.
Sure. So what I want to avoid is the feeling that they're just a rubber stamp, like they get things, here's a map, but it's too late to have any input, can we avoid that?
Yeah, so we have not had many experiences in my tenure in Black Mountain where we just have all this opportunity, where there's it's not constrained and we just have choice after choice after choice. Most of the time it's very narrow. And so the engineer says, well, if you're going to go from here to here, this is how you're going to do it. There have been opportunities for active mobility to make recommendations, and that this previous council did not necessarily take them up. And there were reasons for that. And it wasn't because their ideas are terrible or anybody hates them, but because the land ownership was not in place. The budget did not align with what we had available. And it was not necessarily, it was more than what was recommended by FHWA regulations for the environment where it was being built in. And so what we don't want is to have a kind of a contest where we are putting our wants and wishes above what was actually practical and feasible, and the engineers kind of cut to that chase. All the input happens on the planning side, and if there are opportunities, if somebody came to me and said, we have 4 choices, and I would say, well, I'm going to go to council and let them know this, and part of that process would for active mobility to get a look at it. But we just don't, I'm not withholding anything. We don't have much going on. It's just the reality. It feels like it. Because we do, but they're slow moving.
The way I see it is that we have two sets of expertise. We have the planning and the engineer expertise, you know, who can look at a road and say it's not feasible or it is feasible to put a bike lane here, or a sidewalk or whatever. And then there's the users, the people who are walking the streets, riding the bikes, you know, out using the network that we have now, and also the streets and everything else that, you know, that don't have bike lanes on them or whatever. And you know, I think that the Active Mobility Commission is probably the best group of people that this town has to represent those people who are actually out there using the system that we have. And what I would like to see happen is that we have a good way for that user feedback to be traveling to staff, both before projects are assigned in the budget cycle, but also you know, throughout, I don't want to say every step of the way, because once the engineer gets going, you know, there's limitations that happen, and we would just slow things down even further or complicate things even further. But you know, the bike and ped plan is what, 6 years old, probably the master plan that we have now.
At least.
You know, and the town's changed a lot, right? I mean, there's houses, communities, neighborhoods have been built in different ways than we had 6 years ago. People are traveling in different ways to different restaurants and bars and whatever that we've had that we didn't have then. And priorities shifted. And I know that staff is, I don't want to say that staff isn't accounting for any of that, because I know that you.
You know I've got that Excel spreadsheet.
Oh, I know you do. I know you do. But, you know, I think that the Active Mobility Commission can really be a key part in prioritizing projects year after year, and providing some updates and providing some feedback, you know, and to see, you know, bring issues of you know, sidewalks that are in disrepair, or you know, certain areas that we could really benefit from smaller investments into, you know, not major new bike boulevards.
And so
but-
they did, yes. So they definitely have already the opportunity in the existing ordinance to do that. They may take up and make any report that they so choose and bring that to you. And they can make an annual report. I've tried to express over the years, you know, it's throughout the year you might make an observation. Oh, this pavement needs to be rehabbed, or this part of town is busier and maybe needs something. Or even that trimming needs to happen around certain areas. But we all operate on this fiscal year. And so my advice has been gather that up and bring that to and make your annual report during budget season. So you all have this information when you are during budget time, because we can't nickel and dime ourselves throughout the year on these kinds of things. Those things are set, our resources, our maintenance plans are, you know, kind of set from the beginning. And so if you all have the information about needs and priorities that they have expressed, you have that information when Jamie presents his budget, and you can provide that feedback and say, we want to actually put in 3 times as much maintenance money for greenways as what's here, because we have been told that these X, Y, and Z need to be addressed this year. So that opportunity already exists. And if, you know, Councilperson Berry, if you woke up tomorrow and you said, I'm just really curious about making a connection on this part of town because, you know, we've had so many new houses, you could make requests. Or I went on a trip and I saw something amazing and I want to know what does that look like in Black Mountain. You can remand that request back and ask them to research that and produce that for you. That is already in the ordinance. It hasn't been super utilized largely because we don't have a lot of projects that we're moving right now.
So what would happen if I came up with a project and I asked the Active Mobility to look into it and present an idea of a plan, but it wasn't a part of the current ped and bicycle plan, master plan? You know, how would that then become part of a priority, or would it not? Would it just fall at the bottom because it's not part of an existing plan?
If we have new opportunities avail themselves regularly, and we have to look at them in the context of our comprehensive plan and make sure that just because an opportunity doesn't mean it's something that we should pursue, right? And you would have to handle that similarly than you would a full planning process. It would just be smaller. You would have public input. And ultimately, you all control the purse strings. So you can tell me that my plan is terrible and you don't like any of it and you want to pick something from the bottom and move it to the top and fund it. And if that's what you want to do, then that's what you want to do. Like, that's your prerogative. So it's still going to get put through the paces. The due diligence will still be there for you to make a decision of how you want to handle it. But the idea of an adopted plan is to kind of move these things in groups and have a working document that staff can work from.
So I don't want to put you on the spot, Jessica, or Josh, or anyone, but I would love, I read the response letter that came, in response to the proposal. And I kind of was left at wondering, what is the Active Mobility Commission for? If we have these ongoing projects that are kind of slower moving, and that aren't requiring immediate feedback right now, like, does staff think we need this committee and if or commission, and if so, do they want feedback monthly? Is it something that is called upon on time? Or, is it better to have big, annual reviews of the master plans that we already have and having them provide feedback? Like, what does staff want, I guess, from that commission?
I'm gonna speak for this one, at least first. I feel like there's value in keeping this group working. I think most of you on this council, I've had conversations with, and this is not a lie. We've struggled with this group together. I think we've all struggled together for the past couple of years, which I don't think is necessarily a bad thing. I think that's a good thing because we're trying to figure out where to make it work the best for everybody. So from a manager standpoint, I would say no, we do not need to get rid of this board. We just need to figure out how to utilize them a little bit better. And that's been
And does staff
conversation
feel
over and
as
over.
though the current ordinance utilizes them properly, or that there should be some additional discussion around this?
So what you have in here are the changes. The consultant part, I know that I have heartburn with. I think, to be honest, I think this probably needs to continue. I don't think there's gonna be a solution from my perspective tonight, but, the addition of G, I think that is absolutely fine, although, Jessica mentions it's mentioned in a roundabout way in some other sections. I think this spells it out a little clearer. And if there is something that the commission wants to bring, then it gets put on your agenda and you get to make a decision. Now figuring out how we make them fit into the system of the discussion you've just been having about, we have these adopted plans from a staff standpoint, this is the way we've always done it. The plan gets adopted, we move through it. We bring the items to you for budget, you fund it, they can implement it. As Jessica was mentioning, most of that input work has been done on the front end of that plan, from the stakeholders and the citizens and, those types of people. Now, there could be things that change in existing conditions between the time the plan is done and the time we're ready to do the project. Now, that may be, if there are in fact changes that have come into play, then maybe that's a good opportunity for them to get involved and say, hey, this isn't the same as it was when we did this plan. I think we need to do something a little bit differently.
Which is almost always the case, right? Because the plan is just a sketch.
It's common for that matter, yes.
Is it okay for me to speak?
I'd like to.
Please,
Yep.
please, come
Okay,
on,
I'll
come on
be
up to
really-
come up to the chair.
Great.
I mean, what we really, our intent with that one, I didn't read it closely enough, we don't want to be a consultant, but, these plans, as you said, Doug, are years old, so they come up, and things may change, and I think what we feel like is we hear about the plans that the town has made after they've made them. You know, I mean, I know that it all comes from the general plan, but when they even start to plan a project, like the Bike Boulevard, we heard about that after the consultants have been brought in. And, you know, I think we could have had some valuable input early on. And so, and then things come up, or I'll hear about things, or listen to your reviews, Allison. There'll be issues about, that include active mobility we didn't even know about, you know, until it was presented to you. So then it's hard for y'all to ask for our input, and that just would really throw a monkey wrench in the plan. So I guess it's just communication from the beginning, which is kind of what that second one was about. You know, start looking at implementing a part of the plan, just check with us. Let us know. You know, I feel like that's part of the frustration, is just the lack of communication on the front end.
So it looks like you could just scratch the serve as a consultant and just say,
Oh, yeah.
provide review and direction to the town staff. I mean,
Well, not
we're-
even direction. just
I don't know that
direction.
directions.
Yeah, okay, let's, I mean, we're trying to get this to where active mobility
Absolutely.
has a little more, oomph than what it does, than what it's had.
I want to throw
Keep in mind that for right now, this was started, Julie and I and several others started this years and years ago. Julie has stuck with this thing. And I admire her for coming in here and going ahead and bringing ideas in that would help provide information from the Mobility Commission to this board. I just don't see that there's that much of a problem with this simple
I
ordinance
just
here.
want to say, we had a great new member come on board recently, and when we were discussing all this, she was just like, why did I come on this board if we're not going to do anything? And so that's kind of where we're at, and we're looking for solutions. And that's why we asked you guys to come to that meeting in June, because we're kind of, you know, at crossroads.
I think, I'm super glad we're having this conversation, because I know this frustration's been going on for quite some time. You've bought me numerous beers, so you could tell me about it.
You're not supposed to.
I hope you'll keep buying me beers, even if we don't have anything going on. But, I shouldn't say that, I bought my own beers. I bought my own beers. Nobody's ever bought me a beer, I promise.
You gotta recuse yourself.
I know.
Yikes.
That was so
Compromise.
poorly stated. Any rate, I think it's real important that we have a conversation, a thorough conversation, and really hash this out, or we're gonna set everybody up for more years of frustration. And so, instead of just a simple fix, I think we need to really think through the process. So, you know, you have one set of needs, the town staff has one set of needs, and then there's these folks, and I'm not sure that the needs are jiving at this point.
While you're considering this, one thing that, and an improved process is, I'm not the only person who does mobility things in town that would need your consideration. Jamie implements sidewalk plans and big improvements and things, and you know, you can tell me to make that my problem, and I will figure out a way to do that, but a consistent way for that comment to be made, because you are not going, until I retire, I think it's very unlikely you're going to be getting like huge numbers of specific, like active mobility related projects specifically limited to that topic. And there will be multiple things that happen around the town and that are related to active mobility that that would give them something to comment on or participate in aside from a construction project, which is really what we've been talking about. And we'll say, like, this group, who at the time had professional staff on, retired landscape architects on committee, did rewrite and update the Greenway Master Plan. And so there are, you know, relatively up-to-date planning documents for greenways and trails specifically. But when you're looking at it comprehensively, just know it's not just me who's involved in these sorts of things. It's actually, it's just one little slice. So how to ferry all of those things to the group.
So tell me about the other group, help me remember the name, the accurate name, the Parks and Recreation.
The Greenways and
Trails.
Trails.
Greenways and Trails Committee?
Yeah.
Committee,
Which is a nonprofit,
yes.
not a town committee.
Correct.
Not a town.
I get that, and it broke off of this one, and that was a real smart move, and that, it just, those folks, and there's a lot of overlap amongst these folks, but it feels like they just were liberated, and now they can do all this cool stuff and not have to have agendas from us and minutes, and, they can, it's really
They can
been
raise money
exciting to
legally and
watch.
all sorts of great stuff. It's
Right.
wonderful.
And one of the things they're doing is all the citizen input and planning or thinking around the possible uses for those donated properties. Doesn't that get really close to what, but that's a more recreational.
It's more recreational trails, when, this group wasn't under me when I started in Black Mountain, it was in Parks and Rec. And back in planning, we were looking at transportation. We want to get people from point A to point B as safely as possible in a manner that is achievable, given all the constraints that we deal with. So that is one of the reasons I shifted it to active mobility. I talked to a lot of other municipalities and who differentiated active mobility from recreational trails because it is a different, just a different skill set, and lots of common interest in users and communities, but as far as professionals involved, your traffic engineer is not designing your trail system in the woods, sort of thing. So it has been more limited in that way. In smaller towns, you often do see your greenways and trails and pedestrian and bike planning with the Parks and Rec group because they have more opportunities to participate in a variety of trail and greenway type of conversations and may have more opportunity to have something to do. So that's
And the
This is
committee
pretty
does
common.
work closely with the Parks and Rec committee. And actually, the Greenway Committee has a better relationship almost with the town, that we feel like we're listened to a little more. So, it's very confusing. And I totally agree with you, Jessica, that, it's not just, these big Greenway master plans and things. And it would be great if we could just, let's have someone let us know, hey, we're planning a sidewalk or whatever. It's not like we're wanting to tell you what to do, but we do have the pulse of the community and what is important to them. And, so that's kind of where, and it's frustrating for everybody. Progress is slow and.
Yeah.
So is it possible that these upcoming projects can always be on their agenda before, like if the bike boulevard? If they could have had input around that?
I feel like if we had had choices, if we had been, our engineers came back and said, all these things will work, then sure. But that just wasn't the case.
That route had to be that route.
That
for a
route had
specific
advantages.
reason.
What were the time constraints that you couldn't go ahead and present this to the Active Mobility Commission?
But she said they didn't have
But it
choices.
still would have been nice to have that information. Hey, here's what we're doing and here's why. That, I think, is part of we don't feel like we're getting good information from.
It just was like, I think with the, you didn't know anything about the closure of to make it a one-way street on going down Sutton Avenue. And,
That is also not active mobility, that's a traffic pattern change.
But it
that
affects
would be
active
part
mobility.
It could have.
That would be
But-
part of.
No project was proposed.
Again, that's one of the things why they feel left out. I mean, that's why I think that this would be great, just to go ahead and help smooth the transition between.
Staff's just not in favor of the way that reads now.
Josh,
What would you
could
change on it,
you,
Josh?
could you come back next month see if you could come up with a better something?
I'm happy to come back next month. It may take some more meetings of staff and active mobility to kind of.
We're meeting tomorrow, hey.
Come on down.
I want the staff to get information they can use. I want the commission members to feel useful and in the know and not read it in the agenda later. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that you've heard this all before, so I'm not sure that I'm preaching to the choir right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to, I mean, we're not here to make the Active Mobility Commission members feel good about their work, right? Like, the whole point of the Active Mobility Commission is to provide useful information to staff and provide a service to, a volunteer service to the community. And I firmly believe, and it sounds like staff does too, that there is a lot of value in that. And you all have a lot of expertise and can provide that. And so, to me, it's not about making you feel useful and your feelings, but actually using that useful information and implementing it and being able to make proper changes in the town.
And I do want to kind of say, citizens advisory boards, they exist to help you.
Yeah.
And advise you and help you do legwork and bring certain expertise and reports to you. And you tell him and he tells me.
So if we knew
That's right.
what you were going to present to the council before you presented it, then we would have the chance to say, here's our input, here's what we think about that.
And that's in the ordinance.
I don't
I
see
think,
that in there.
I think there is
It's not
some,
being- But it's not being done. It's just like with the, when I got on Active Mobility Commission, it took me to go to Josh to request the plans. And when I finally got the plans, it was several months later, and presented them to the Active Mobility Commission, they'd never even seen the plans for the Greenway.
It is not typical to pass around engineering drawings. I mean, I can if you want me to.
Well, no, but I mean, they didn't even know about it. We didn't even know about it. They didn't know that they existed. They had never seen them. That's the point, communication. Give them the information.
I am curious that,
I'm just not sure that they're gonna start bringing engineering plans to the
No,
meetings.
we're not like, but we're not trying to get into planning, stuff. But we just do want to know. And so, what we have heard repeatedly is, we need to hear it from you, that we're serving you, we need to hear it from you. So it just makes sense to me that we know what is going to be presented to you before you get it. Otherwise, how do you even know that there's other thoughts out there, or other input?
I guess it's, I haven't presented, I'm not sure what I am presenting that these things are so old that,
I think we're
it's,
talking about agenda items?
there's like either
Meeting
in the
agenda
budget
items?
or they're just old and they've been percolating in some shape or form
But if they're
for a
all-
long
yeah,
time.
Just let us know what's going on.
So, and I think you're talking about what's going on like at the town council monthly
Well,
meetings.
it's something, like, I don't know, did the Bike Boulevard come before you guys?
It was budgeted.
It sure did.
And so we never knew about that until it was a done deal. So, just,
They're public.
You know, and I think that gets back, Julie and council, to what was mentioned earlier. Once a plan is done, our job is to implement it. And that's how we're wired. Now, if there's a situation where it comes back to you, then this council will make that decision. But that's how we're wired to do it, is once the plan is done and it's budgeted, to go do
Yeah, but
it.
prior to that, they should just be made aware of it. I mean, I don't see the problem in making them aware of it.
I don't have a problem with that at all. I don't think anyone does.
that's kind of what we're asking.
Yeah, that's all we're asking.
Can staff ask that, say it's just an update? I write y'all a book of updates every month.
Yeah.
And we try to keep like the website updated, we try to put out the little flashes. I don't know if you need to have a public meeting for staff just to give updates. Can we sit out, I will send you an email, and that will take, is that acceptable? Just for if it's just,
Do I not?
Yeah.
I think that
this is
sounds
typing.
That's
great.
communication.
Yeah.
Just
Well,
basic
and
communication.
And then you're not duplicating work. You're already writing this down. Now, you have access to information, you can, follow up if there are questions. I am wondering if there is any logistical component of, that y'all have your meetings, what, typically the week after? I know this month is weird, and so it's tomorrow, but.
Usually ours is the 3rd.
Mm-hmm. And so we don't really have like an agenda. Our agenda isn't established by then. So then if there was something that y'all wanted
After you guys.
to discuss and weigh in, then that's not been finalized. So, I mean, is that a real logistical concern, or am I?
Well, I don't know that it would
Creating
happen
a-
that often, I mean,
Okay.
yes.
I didn't know if that would change the communication flow any for y'all. And I agree with folks, I think communication is one of the key, if not maybe the main frustration and concern here. So I think on the council, we can be more proactive about asking y'all for input and things like that. One of the things that stands out to me in reading over this ordinance as it is that there's room for y'all to be doing education and publicity. And with this new bike boulevard, oh my gosh, do we need education for bikers, for pedestrians, for drivers, about how to not run bicyclists over and share the road. So I hope that there are things that y'all can dig into here and know that absolutely we want to hear from you. And I think there's responsibility to be shared in communication around that.
Thank you. So,
So
what do I
what's the
tell
pleasure of the board?
tomorrow? Yeah, what do y'all want to do?
So what's the pleasure of the board? That Josh is gonna go ahead and bring something back next month?
Wait, I didn't hear Julie's comment.
Oh,
Were
I'm
you
just
asking?
kind of, no, I'm done.
Oh, okay.
Redo this ordinance?
Oh, my God.
No, wait, but Julie, you didn't like some of the words in it either, so
Yeah, I
it
know.
sounds like if
Is there some way, Josh, that you could just send her an email on this and simply say, what are the points in there that you don't like?
Well,
And let them.
I like,
let them-
the consultant thing should have been pushed out. We were not the ones that were objecting to that language.
No, it was us, staff. So I'm fine with G. I don't think we can redo the whole ordinance. I think it's just B and G that we're talking about.
Okay.
Okay, well then, can you two
And
sit
then-
down and try to hash this out?
Be more than glad to do that.
Well, good then, so if you.
We did it once, it didn't
We'll
work.
do it again. We've actually done this 3 or 4 times now. But we're gonna make it stick.
Well,
But you're gonna do it and then bring it back to the board, to the council for the September meeting.
That's correct.
Okay.
Thank you for
Council
being
all right with that?
Yes.
Yeah,
thank you.
thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Item 9C, this is a maintenance request, kind of from Sykes Reagan, but NCOD is requesting that the town be on the hook for maintaining a rapid response flashing beacon across NC9, which would be on the south side of 9, right there in front of Cheshire. Sykes Reagan is planning on installing a sidewalk on the east side of NC9, and to get across 9, DOT has said that the town will need to be responsible for maintaining those 2 flashing beacons. These would be similar, if not exact, to the ones we have on State Street there at Church, and the ones we're putting up on Montreat when they come in for the bike boulevard. It's very, I wouldn't see this as being very cost prohibitive in the future, so.
And that's common practice with a new,
With anything like that,
flashing
if it's gonna be
beacon.
traffic oriented, it would be common
Okay.
practice for a municipality or county to have to deal with
Well-
that, not an individual.
I'm excited that there's gonna be a crosswalk there.
How long is that sidewalk, proposed sidewalk?
Not very big, about 100 feet,
Okay,
I think, not very long.
and it's all in their private
Probably,
property?
yeah, or maybe some of it in DOT right away, but yeah, it's.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
So moved to approve the request as presented.
Okay, any discussion?
Is this an active mobility topic? An example of an
Okay.
active mobility topic? No further discussion.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, 5-0. Board appointments.
All right, board
appointments. So Recreation was able to meet. They reviewed the 5 applications they received. They made 2 recommendations. The applicants they recommended were David Galloway and Sally Cochran. So you all have ballots for that particular nomination at your places, but I'll just go through the rest of them quickly as well. For Active Mobility Commission, we received 1 application from Christy Bergna. Historic Preservation Commission, 1 application received from Deborah Norman. And Zoning Board of Adjustment, 1 application received for 1 alternate seat. And then we will also need to appoint a board chair for the ABC board. And those members are Sharon Tabor, Larry Harris, and Amanda Nichols. So if we want to start with Recreation, I'll grab your ballots from you and go from there.
You know, before I vote, I just wanted to say, because I always have something to say, how impressed I was with this pool of candidates. I mean, it was a wonderful group of people, diverse and talented and skillful in so many ways. So it made me happy to see so many people that want to serve their town. And obviously, not everybody's going to get an appointment this go-round, and I hope whoever does not get an appointment will continue to be willing to serve the town and can keep trying so we can find ways for people to be utilized.
Apply to one of the other boards.
There's other boards, that's for sure, yeah, but anyway, I was just like, wow, look at all these great people that want to serve our town.
Can I just circle?
That's fine.
Thank you.
Okay, for Recreation Commission, Councilmember Barry nominates David Galloway and Sally Cochran. Councilmember Christie also nominates David Galloway and Sally Cochran. Councilmember Hay nominates David Galloway and Sally Cochran. Vice Mayor Patiller nominates David Galloway and Sally Cochran. And Councilmember King nominates David Galloway and Sally Cochran.
Active Mobility is next.
Do we need to vote?
Yes, please.
You want to vote? All right, I'll take it.
Of,
You'll make a motion
I-
to accept those 2.
Yes, yeah, I make that motion.
All right, any discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0. Active Mobility Commission.
So Active Mobility, the applicant was Christy Bergna, and that was in your packet.
Everybody want to go ahead and just approve that? Any discussion on it?
I move to nominate Christy Bergna.
Okay. Any discussion? Not, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0. Historic Preservation.
I move to nominate Deborah Norman.
Any other nominations? Well, just one application. If not, any discussion? Vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. On the ABC chair appointment,
Oh, we still have a zoning board of adjustment, I'm sorry, 1 application for the alternate seat, Nicole Stallings.
I move that we appoint Nicole Stallings to the zoning board of adjustments.
all right, any
As an alternate.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, 5-0. On the ABC board appointment, apparently there's been different ways that they've appointed, that the chair's been appointed.
Yes,
Begin to look-
so for our last, I'll give you a little history from the time I've been here. The town council did appoint the previous chair. That is true. I think previous to me, the way they were doing it was as the old chair rolled off the board, whoever was appointed to replace that person became the new chair. According to the School of Government, that is acceptable. But you also have the authority to appoint. So just for clarity's sake, I think that it's best that we do what we did last time and choose the new chair.
But the board itself has the power to go ahead and select their own chair?
No, no, the town council selects the chair.
The way I interpreted it, that for the very first, when the board was formed, this board formed the ABC board, they could appoint that chair. Secondly, they could appoint a chair if the chair had to retire or could not serve because of whatever incapacity. And then the third thing is that they can appoint their own board.
I'll let the attorney speak to that, but I'm not sure.
Yeah, so I unfortunately did not look at any of the rules or the bylaws that govern the ABC Board Chair appointment. So I don't have the specific answer as to whether or not they're going to be able to usurp this council's authority in appointing the chair by appointing their own chair. For vacancies, certainly, I would assume that they've got the right, if there's a vacancy because of retirement or a death, that they can fill their chair. But if we're coming up for an annual appointment of the board chair, and if historically the town council has appointed that chair, I think that we should appoint that chair.
So it does say here in the North Carolina General
General
Statutes
Statutes.
that the appointing authority, which is you all, shall designate one
Yeah.
member of the local board as chairman.
Yeah, it's in the general statute.
So let me ask you this. Do any of them want to be chair? Are we gonna appoint them against their will?
certain you have more than one person that wants to be chair.
Tell me who wants to be chair.
Well, Larry Harris, I think, wants to be chair, and I haven't heard this out of her mouth, but in the conversations I've had with her, I think Sharon may want to be chair. And I think that's one of the reasons it's back in your lap now.
Oh,
According to the general statutes, y'all shall, not may.
It says shall. I read it.
And so we don't have communication from them about interest or?
I
don't
have an email from Mr. Harris expressing, his interest in being chair. That's the only person I personally have heard from.
I mean, I'd have to go and look up the names of the other people, but it sounds like
It's
if
Sharon
we wouldn't.
Tabor, Larry Harris, and Amanda Nichols are their names.
Okay, thank you.
I move that we appoint Larry Harris as chair of the ABC Board.
Any discussion? Seeing none, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
5-0.
Last communication from town attorney.
So, thank you all for having me here. I am not Craig Justice. I am Brian Golden. Craig got stuck coming back from Raleigh, asked me to sit in for him. I guess the communications that I would have would say that the state still hasn't adopted a budget because of several draft bills that are pending, which some of them may have significance as it relates to non-conforming uses and vested rights, but we'll see where that falls out. And gaming and gambling. That's part of a draft bill that's up for consideration. But it's for all counties east of I-70 with 100,000 people or less in certain economically depressed areas. What are the three counties? Maybe Nash, Rockingham, and somebody else. And maybe the Lumbee tribe's gonna apply for and get a casino. So that's what I have.
All right, for me, Labor Day, we're closed on September 4th. This is Savannah's last meeting as our town clerk. I'm going to miss her incredibly, and she will be very hard to replace, but we are working on that now. We've got lots of applications in. I'm starting to go through those now and hopefully have some interviews set here in a couple weeks. But good luck to you. And then lastly, the mayor mentioned the stormwater bills.
Yeah.
We went through-
Wait a second.
Lastly, about the double billing of stormwater, we should get together sometime tomorrow. Mayor, we've counted about
What time? What
15
time?
people. Afternoon would be better for me. I'm busy all morning, so
Right, you'll just give me a time, I'll make sure I can put it in my schedule.
3.
3 o'clock.
Yep.
3 o'clock, I'll be here.
Sorry, say that again.
We've counted 15 roughly people.
15 duplicates?
15 duplicates, yes.
And what actions are we taking to?
At this point in time, we're notifying those people that they've been double charged and we will be refunding them money. It's the right thing to do.
Basically,
folks
we've got
can-
about 10, I know that I just did a virtual tour around town, 10 trailer parks, 14, 16 apartment buildings, plus people that have houses. So you're probably looking between 200 to 300.
We'll look tomorrow.
And if folks are having any issue with their water bills,
They can
stormwater
call
bills,
us anytime.
call the water department.
Excellent.
One last thing I wanted just to ask Josh, could you explain, please, because people have been asking me and I've been giving a modified explanation of what the $2 waste reduction fee and exactly what that covers.
We talked about that in the budget, Mr. Mayor. So that covers, one, the increase in tipping fees from the county. That covers the new leaf removal service that we're doing. And then also covers salary for a part-time to full-time position. That's what it covers.
Okay. What is the tipping fee charge?
I don't know off the top of my head how much that went up, but I can get you that number.
If you would.
We
Because it
have
looks
that.
like that right now, we're looking at right at $100,000 is what this $2 is gonna be
A
bringing.
little bit more than that, about 127, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Anybody got anything else to say?
Josh, did you have an update on the Gray Eagle monument? That was.
I will look at Jamie for an update on the Gray Eagle Monument.
Yes, we actually had talked to the contractor about that. We're just waiting on their timeline to finish up a job, but that is one thing that we've looked at. And we've looked at totally refurbishing everything from wiring to lights to new water lines to rock work, the whole 9 yards, not just a rock refurbish. We're talking about doing the pool, the whole 9 yards
Good.
with the $10,000 estimate. It's
So-
a pretty good budget.
So we're on their schedule, like up next?
Yeah.
Okay.
We was actually on their schedule before the budget was even approved, just to make sure we can, cause, I don't have to tell you how hard it is to try to get contractors. They're all booked up, so. But yes, it is scheduled. That was one of the first things. And I had contacted Evie and they, just as soon as they could get cleared up, they would get started on it. And I have been in contact with them also.
Great, thank you.
I just wanted to add my thank you to Savannah and wish her well. It's a good professional move for her, but I know we're gonna miss her.
I'll miss you all very much.
Right? I also wanted to note that we have, the town has, I want to commend the staff for moving us from plastic water bottles to these carton water bottles. And I just noticed that if you post a picture of this carton on this site, they'll plant 2 trees in a national forest. Just if you post a picture of it. So,
So if everyone here did a selfie,
that's a lot of trees, but at any rate, we're, little bits, we're trying.
Anybody else?
thank you, Savannah. Thank you. Doug, I'm trying to read your face from here. I hope it's not too soon to say that Doug and I are working on selecting a date for another town hall meeting in the next month.
Yeah.
Late August, early September?
Yeah.
Okay. Be in touch.
We can announce the 30th or the 5th, either one.
Okay.
Either one works.
It sounds like the 30th or the 5th, but, we'll, we'll let you know where to show up, what time.
Great.
Seeing nothing else, meeting adjourned.